Tom Bower isn't just some random online gossip. He's an 85-year-old royal writer who spent decades tearing apart fake public images with nothing to lose and a reputation for being brutally honest. So when he talks about Meghan Markle, people don't just listen, they pay close attention. In his latest comments, it's not just a small hit at her personality, it's a full attack on the very base of Meghan's carefully built public image. At the center of this drama is a chapter Meghan has tried for years to erase: the rumors about her so-called yacht girl past. Now, let's be clear, this isn't about insulting someone for how they started out or trying to block a woman's ambition. It's about contradictions. Contradictions that have built up so high, they're now impossible to ignore. For years, Meghan has sold herself as a self-made Hollywood underdog who reached royalty through hard work and charm. But Bower's version tells a very different story. He says her rise was less about talent and more about carefully planned parties, with powerful men, private yacht events, and connections that helped push her up the ladder. Of course, Meghan has denied these rumors. She has called them sexist and harmful. But the thing about rumors is, when they don't disappear for more than 10 years, people start asking why. And Tom Bower thinks he knows why. They fit a pattern of image control, rewriting her story, and an obsession with managing how people see her. A pattern that doesn't survive well when the spotlight gets too bright. But Bower doesn't stop at the yacht rumors. He goes deeper, straight into Meghan's almost obsessive connection with Princess Diana. And this part is uncomfortable. Meghan has tried to copy Diana in almost every way. Clothes, poses, even showing emotions in ways that once made Diana loved by millions. But instead of winning the same sympathy, Meghan's efforts come across as fake, forced, and too much like acting. According to Bower, that's because you can't fake realness. Diana didn't need to try, she was open, raw, and sadly human. Meghan, on the other hand, looks like someone pretending to be vulnerable for cameras, and the public is noticing. Remember the Oprah interview? It was supposed to be the moment that changed Meghan's story. Instead, fact-checkers tore it apart within days. She said she never Googled Harry before meeting him, but there are photos of her wearing his mother's jewelry years before their first date. She said royal rules were all new to her, but she already had friends connected to royalty before she met Harry. It's not just one or two untruths, it's the buildup. Bower's words here are harsh. When you tell too many lies, they eventually flood everything. And once that happens, no one believes anything anymore. And that brings us to the marriage. Tom Bower doesn't hold back here either. What looks like a perfect love story on the outside, Netflix shows, red carpet photos, polished family moments, is, according to him, more like a business deal barely holding together. He says Meghan uses her daughter as a shield to avoid criticism and pull sympathy. That behind the scenes, things aren't nearly as happy as the PR makes them look. The signs are there. A growing emotional distance between Harry and Meghan, different stories about their timeline, photo shoots that look less like love and more like desperate tries to stay in the news. But here's the twist. For a while, Hollywood supported them. Meghan was royalty, literally, and that mattered. She was invited to elite events. She met big stars. She thought they would always stand with her. But something changed. The calls stopped. Producers started whispering. Famous celebrities began to step away. The shine faded. And Tom Bower says, that's no accident. In Hollywood, one day you're the favorite underdog. The next day, you're the joke at dinner parties. Meghan Markle thought her royal title would always keep her at the table. But as Tom Bower explains, that seat is looking weaker every day. The sparkle of being a duchess has worn off. Big producers who once wanted to work with her now avoid her. Not because she has no talent, but because she's become unpredictable. And in Hollywood, unpredictability is bad for business. It's not just producers. It's actors, directors, influencers. Meghan has turned into a risky brand. Nobody wants to be stuck in whatever story she's pushing this month. The talk behind the scenes has changed. She's hard to work with. She makes everything about herself. She brings drama and tension everywhere. And in Hollywood, they'll smile at you, while secretly removing you from the next guest list. Bower says this quiet rejection isn't personal, it's business. No one wants to deal with the chaos. And speaking of chaos, the story Meghan has built around herself has become impossible to keep together. From podcast shows to Netflix specials, she's tried to be everything. The victim, the rebel, the brave outsider, the feminist icon. the misunderstood royal, the protective mother. But the more roles she piles on, the more it all feels like an act. And audiences, especially ones tired of being tricked emotionally, can sense it a mile away. One of Bauer's harshest points is that Meghan's whole life now looks staged. He says nothing feels natural. Every photo is posed. Every quote is carefully planned. Every story in the press is on purpose. It's not just that she's calculated, it's that the calculation is so easy to see now. Her Netflix scenes with Harry look staged. Her paparazzi photos in California are tipped off. Even her normal life moments feel like mini productions with lighting and makeup. And this level of control, Bauer says, is actually destroying her. Because when you try too hard to look real, you end up looking fake. There's also a very serious claim about how Meghan uses her kids. According to Bauer's sources, she uses motherhood as a tool, putting her children in headlines at the right time to avoid criticism. If things get too negative, suddenly there's a photo of her baking with Lily, or Harry talking about bedtime with Archie. It's a quiet PR trick, but Bauer calls it what it is: deflection. He says it's not really about family, it's about image, and it leaves people feeling uneasy. Then there's the Diana obsession, and calling it obsession isn't an exaggeration. From clothes to photos, Meghan has studied Diana like a role to play. But where Diana's sadness felt tragic and real, Meghan's sadness feels planned. Where Diana broke hearts, Meghan breaks the illusion. Instead of sympathy, these copies make people roll their eyes. As Bauer says, you can't be Diana. Diana was natural, emotional, loved. Meghan, he says, is none of those things. The public sees her attempts not as tributes, but as copies. The harshest part is that people no longer give her the benefit of the doubt. It's not just that they question her words. They expect them to be lies. Every new story is met with doubt. Every contradiction adds to the pile. And once someone is known for lying, even their truth sounds fake. That's the damage Tom Bauer says Meghan has done to herself. Not by being imperfect, but by trying to fake perfection for too long in front of too many cameras. Meghan Markle didn't just lose control of her story, she lost control of the one thing that gave her power: public sympathy. There was a time when people supported her. She was the outsider who married into one of the world's most traditional families. She was American, biracial, self-made, everything the monarchy wasn't. That contrast was powerful. It made her different. But over time, that sympathy faded. Not because of who she was, but because of what she kept trying to be. Tom Bauer doesn't soften his words. He calls it the collapse of a brand. And when you look at Meghan as a brand instead of a person, it makes sense. Every interview, every partnership, every appearance has been planned to push an image. Powerful yet relatable, fancy yet down-to-earth, royal yet rebellious. But when too many of those images clash, people start asking tough questions. And when those clashes pile up, the brand loses trust. One of the final hits came when Spotify ended Meghan's podcast deal. A multi-million-dollar contract ended with almost nothing to show. The platform, once excited to feature her, left quietly. Insiders said the shows had no depth, that they were all fluff. Others said she barely worked on it herself. And this wasn't just a failed deal. It was a warning to the industry. If Spotify couldn't make it work with a royal, why would anyone else try? Then came Netflix. Once the biggest win for the Sussex media empire, that partnership is now cooling too. Views didn't match the hype, the later projects didn't connect, and behind the scenes, bosses noticed the same red flags. Too much control, not enough. Teamwork. Too much image building, not enough real substance. Bauer shows Meghan as someone who thought the title Duchess would open every door, only to find out titles don't matter much when trust is gone. Even the royal family, famous for being silent, has pulled away completely. King Charles doesn't mention her. William won't talk about her. Kate won't even say her name in interviews. Meghan has become the person no one mentions, the topic no one wants. It's no longer about drama. It's about damage control. It's easier for the royals to pretend she isn't there than deal with her chaos. Social media hasn't helped her either. Clips of Meghan's interviews get cut up and mocked. Her speeches are checked for lies. Old videos pop back up and go viral with sarcastic captions. The fans who once protected her have gone quiet or even turned against her. Meghan isn't seen as the hero or the villain. She's seen as a question mark. People don't know what to believe. And in public relations, confusion is just as bad as bad press. Tom Bower's sharpest line is also the simplest. Her lies could flood the earth. It sounds dramatic, but the message is clear. When someone tells too many stories, people stop listening at all. Meghan has reached that stage. The contradictions, the staged moments, the failed projects, they've all added up to one thing. The brand is falling. She once thought she could control the narrative forever, that with the right angles, the right lighting, the right headlines, she could shape how people saw her. But people are tired of angles. They're tired of PR. They want realness. And Meghan, despite all her effort, just doesn't feel real anymore. The fairy tale is over. What's left is the fallout. And in Bower's view, that fallout isn't temporary. It's the start of the end. Not the end of Meghan the person, but the end of Meghan the idea, the carefully built, endlessly managed brand that once looked unbreakable.